Reaction now to our City News investigation that finds where a person is sexually assaulted could determine what kind of justice they receive in the courts. Tonight we dig further and find what the conviction rates are across the province. But as one survivor tells us, victory in the courts can be hollow.
I think we can't undermine how brutalizing the process is, that even when you get a conviction, it's very difficult to recognize that as a success or justice.
Mandy Gray was sexually assaulted by a fellow student at York University. Not only was he charged by police, he was tried in court and convicted. Getting to that point defies the statistical odds. Numbers from Toronto police show over a 4-year period, out of all the sexual assault complaints they received, 38% ended up in charges before the courts.
There is just simply too high a failure rate.
David Butt is a former Crown attorney.
We also know from the statistics that the false allegation rate is somewhere in the neighborhood of between 5 and 10%. But that's way more, obviously, than 5 and 10% of cases that are falling off before they get to a charge. So what that means is that viable cases, for whatever reason, are not going ahead.
Of all the cases that did end up in court between 2012 and 2015 across the province, 33% ended in convictions. But we know from our City News investigation, justice looks different depending on where an alleged assault took place. A sex assault case in Toronto, for example, has the second lowest chance of going to trial across the province and the highest chance of being dropped. No surprise to Amanda Dale, who helps women navigate the courts.
We've been hearing anecdotally that there are a lot of cases being dropped by the Crown in our jurisdiction, which is in Toronto. So when I looked at the numbers that you had reported on, they kind of affirmed an anecdotal experience that we've had.
But the province's Attorney General is dismissing the findings.
I really don't think that these numbers in any way demonstrate that there's a different level of justice from region to region in the province of Ontario.
And yet the numbers show a sex assault case in Toronto is almost twice as likely to be dropped as in Ottawa. Do you think that a woman will receive the same amount of justice whether she is sexually assaulted in Toronto versus Ottawa versus Timmins?
That would absolutely be my hope.
Even though Mandy Gray won her case, her legal battle is not over. The man convicted of assaulting her is trying to appeal. If the case goes to trial again, the combined legal battles could take up to 5 years of her life. Perhaps the most damning indictment of the legal system is her belief that surviving court was harder than the actual attack. Are you telling me that the trial was worse than the assault?
Absolutely. It was far harder to cope with the aftermath of the assault than the assault itself.
Now, after months of working on this investigation, there's still one set of numbers we have been unable to obtain. That is the conviction rate jurisdiction by jurisdiction. We were hoping to see if that varies across the province as well. The Attorney General tells us he will try to get us that information.